All right, what's up, Mob Crew? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys can hear me okay, please put a 1 in the chat. It's been a minute since I used my Streamlabs, so I'm just going to make sure everything's running okay. All right, test. Okay, that's good. Perfect. All right, sometimes when I do StreamYard back to back, for some reason, sometimes my settings change with this Streamlabs, which is kind of a different program I normally use. So anyway, happy Friday to everyone. Hope everybody is doing well. Thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your day to watch the show. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I am Chris with Monsters Under Our Bed. We cover true crime, mystery to the missing. And today we're going to go dive a little bit deeper into the latest Frank's hearing motion that revealed a lot of stuff with the crime scene in regards to Delphi and everything like that. And I also actually have a video just in case if there are some of you that are newer to this case or what happened with the Frank's hearing. So I do have a video I put together that I'm going to play at the beginning. Which will allow more people to come in, and then we'll get into some deeper stuff. But before we do that, we always like to give back by featuring the missing. So let me pull that up. And so today we have Jakara Moore. She is 16 years old. She went missing last month, so it's almost been a month, on Friday, August 25th. She was last seen leaving her home on Weld Street in Rochester, New York. So she may frequent the Dewey Avenue and Reynolds Street areas. If you have any information, she's 16 years old, 5'2", and 120 pounds. Looks like she's wearing glasses in here and has braces. There's an email, but you can always call your local law enforcement, and there's also an email right here, which is WNY and unidentified at yahoo.com if you have any tips. And we got one more. This is an older one as far as the case. This is Lauren Spire. She is an Indiana University junior when she went missing. This one's kind of sad because she's been missing since June 3rd, 2011. So we're looking at 12 years there. She was 20 years old when she went missing, 4'11", just 90 pounds, blonde hair, blue eyes. Went missing out of Bloomington, Indiana. I figured this would be a great one to post because we're going to be talking about Delphi, Indiana. So I thought I'd mention her. You can get more details at www.findlauren.com. If you have any tips, you can call 812-339-4477. Okay. All right. So we'll close that. And good to see everybody in here. Good to see you, Jason Watts. Hope you're doing well. I've been informed that there's been some unfortunate developments when it comes to the Brandon Lawson case. So I'm thinking about doing an update video, and I don't know if you would like to come on. I'll reach out to you via text maybe after the show. Be more than happy to bring exposure to that case because I was kind of hoping this, as far as that case, the Brandon Lawson case was kind of coming to a finality, but it doesn't look like that. So anyway, let's start with just a video that I made, and I just shortened it, and it just kind of goes over just the basic stuff from this Frank's motion, just in case if you haven't heard of everything. Sure, I'll come on. Oh, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. So I will definitely get a hold of you, if not tonight, tomorrow, and maybe plan something next, whatever works for you. We can talk about the latest details of Brandon Lawson case, which is something we've covered extensively on this channel. And Jason Watts is an amazing guy. So that's really cool. Okay, we'll go ahead and play this video with just kind of overview of everything, and then break down some of the blood spatter that we talked about the other day. There was also, because I mean, it's a 136-page document. A lot of people call it a novel, and every time I read it, there's new things that I discover that I've just, because when you start reading it, it all starts kind of blending together. But there were some things towards the end that caught my eye, and one paragraph in particular, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is something we definitely need to address. So anyway, I'll play this real quick, and then we'll get into the show.
Directly to the killer, who may be in this room.
I will talk about that, Michelle.
We believe you are hiding in plain sight.
At some point in the show.
For more than 2 years, you never thought we would shift gears to a different investigative strategy, but we have. We likely have interviewed you, or someone close to you. We know that this is about power to you, and you want to know what we know. And one day, you will.
The defense team for Richard Allen recently released what's called a Frank's motion. A Frank's motion is something that challenges the validity of a search and or arrest warrant for the defendant. This motion not only challenges the prosecution's allegations, but introduces an entirely new narrative with 5 new suspects and releases major new details about the crime scene and so much more. Part 1. 5 new suspects. According to the defense team, Richard Allen is innocent, and they claim a group of 5 men known as Odinism are responsible for taking the lives of Abby and Libby as a ritual sacrifice. The 5 men were all or at one time part of a religious group who worship Norse gods like Odin. Odinism is what Vikings believed in. The defense also claims that this group has connections to people that work in the corrections department, like the prison where Richard Allen is being held at, and that this group is supposedly using Allen as their patsy. The defense claims Richard Allen was forced by this group to confess to his wife, or there would have been consequences. So what is the connection between this group and Abby and Libby? Part 2. The crime scene. This new motion definitely released some shocking new details that only had been rumored about before on the internet. We've always heard that this crime scene was odd and bizarre in nature, but I must say, trigger warning, as I am only going to summarize what was detailed in this motion about the crime scene. According to this motion, the defense literally starts out with "this was a ghoulish scene." In summary, it says that Libby was found completely naked, lying on her back, her head positioned close to a tree. Her arms were both positioned in different ways. They also claim that where Libby's final resting spot was not actually where she was attacked because there was very little blood on her body. She had tree branches and sticks placed on top of her body. Now this is where it begins to connect the crime scene to this Odinism group. They say that the way that the branches were laid on top of poor Libby had made a V-shaped symbol using sticks and branches. They also claim that these tree branches were cleanly cut, which meant that there was something used like some kind of electrical saw. Where it gets even more bizarre is how Abby was supposedly placed. According to the motion, Abby was also laying on her back near Libby, but a few feet away, not quite parallel to Libby. Abby was actually wearing all of Libby's clothes, according to the defense. This was one of the more bizarre statements, since it would seem to be difficult to derobe one victim and then put the clothes on another. Abby supposedly had little to no blood on her, unlike Abby, which according to the defense, both victims were naked when they were attacked. Just like Libby, Abby was also positioned in a unique way with her arms and legs. Abby also had tree branches and twigs placed on top of her. The defense claims that these branches made like an asterisk type shape on top of Abby. They also say that small twigs were placed above Abby's head to make it look like horns or antlers. This would be more proof, according to the defense, that this was done by this Odinism group. One of Libby's shoes and Libby's phone were laying under Abby's body. The unspent bullet was supposedly in the ground between the two girls, where the defense claims this bullet wasn't properly photographed. Then, just when the crime scene couldn't get any more bizarre, the motion brings up that there was a tree nearby, possibly where one of the victims were attacked, where 4 feet from the base of the tree, there was an F symbol painted onto the tree. DNA tests claim that this was painted on using the blood of Libby's. This was truly shocking. According to the defense, this was the Nordic rune and Zeus, which symbols look similar to the letter F, but slightly different. This symbol has many meanings, like creative solution to a problem, as well as the symbol for Odin. It also stands for mouth, breathe, persuasion, and communication. This would also be another argument towards the defense connection to this Odinism group. Part 3, Witnesses and the Sketches. I think many can agree that the 2 sketches that were released was an absolute mess, and in my opinion they look really nothing alike, as well for the fact that they both are aged so differently. One has facial hair, the other one doesn't. Did this guy shave and find the fountain of youth in between the 2 witnesses? So there has been much speculation as to which witnesses were responsible for the 2 sketches. This motion finally addresses how and when they were created. According to the defense, the muddy and bloody witness known as Sarah, who saw a man walking west down Crunchy Road, would be responsible for the first sketch to be released. But according to the defense, they claim this witness never saw a man muddy and bloody, but just muddy. They also claim that she did not see a blue jacket, but a tan jacket. Keep in mind, this is coming from the defense, who has their own agenda completely opposite of the prosecution, and could be twisting the words of the witness.
And there's something I want to mention here in just a minute, but I'm going to finish this on the second sketch. And as we know, this sketch was out for basically 2 years, and just after the 2-year anniversary, then they would change to the young guy sketch. And there was something also that I read that I want to mention.
The motion also says that another witness named Betsy, who was the one who pulled up to the Mears parking lot, which was around the same time as Abby and Libby, but Betsy would exit her car first and walk towards the bridge. When arriving to the bridge, she saw a man standing on the bridge, after which she started walking back where she would cross paths with Abby and Libby, who were walking towards the bridge, while Betsy would walk back to her car. According to the defense, after the first sketch had been released and had been out there for a while, Betsy was apparently unhappy because she also had a sketch made of the man on the bridge. The defense claims she was unhappy about the first sketch and felt like it did not look anything like the man she saw. Betsy's sketch was actually created first, but because the other sketch much more resembled the man in the video, they held back on Betsy's sketch.
And I could totally understand that, because you got to take in consideration the first sketch, which is on our right, even though the original first sketch was done by Betsy, by the group that worked with Betsy, but they felt that this one on the right more resembled the guy in the video, which it does. Excuse me, where he's got the kind of hat, because in my opinion, and I know a lot of people have different opinions on what he has on his head, I've heard everything, but to me, I think it is some kind of hat, golf hat, ivy cap, and then also you've got the kind of hood as well built into there, so it does much more line up with what little we can see as far as in the video. But in her argument, Sarah, let's see, we're at 749. Sarah, of course, you got to think that this witness is just driving down the road and seeing a guy And who knows? I don't know the speed limit. I wish I could ask Steve. I'm sure he knows, and maybe somebody in the comment knows. I'm assuming, it's 40, maybe somewhere around in there. Who knows how fast she was actually going? But to actually be able to get a decent description out of somebody that you're just driving past, I could see how there would be issues, and like how well did she actually get a view of this guy if she's driving by. It's one thing if you're walking past somebody, but yeah, so I can kind of definitely see the argument there. Whereas this one witness who is, I believe she says she's approximately 50 feet, the Betsy Blair one, where she's walks up to the bridge, and I just had it right there, and sees this suspect here, which she felt looks much different, and she felt looked much younger. And so I'm sure that probably played a role in why they ended up switching after 2 years, even though I know the family has been very outspoken that they were very crushed that happened. But anyway,
where she would
I just wanted to add that in.
Cross paths with Abby and Libby, who were walking towards the bridge, while Betsy get to voice her frustration. And nearly 2 years later, after the homicides, they released the second sketch, which was the
Kiska, Sweetie Bill, if we can, please refrain from using full names, just initials only. I don't want any of the names of the people mentioned in the Frank's motion out there. I know they are out there and they're easy to find, but I would prefer them not full names in the chat. If you can, just use initials, because what if they are innocent? We're not talking about one person, not two, not three, not four, 5 people that could be innocent of this, and they're already getting hate, spammed, hate mail, the worst of the worst. Their family's probably threatened, so I'd not want to be a part of that. So if we can, just please use initials.
Sketch by what Betsy had claimed to see. According to the motion, Betsy described a slender, youthful-looking man in his early 20s or 30s. He had brown curly hair, which was described as poofy, and she believes that he had no facial hair. Beyond that, the defense is also claiming that this witness, Betsy, did not see a black or dark smaller car parked at the old CPS building, but more like a 1965 Ford Comet, and that she couldn't remember the color but was sure it was not black, whereas Richard Allen drove the black Ford Focus. Part 4. Tony Liggett. So of course the defense's job is to poke at any holes into the prosecution's claims, as well as to the law enforcement that were involved. The defense claims that Tony Liggett made many errors in witness statements, as well as claiming he fabricated a lot of things, including Richard Allen's statement of what time he was actually there. According to this motion, they claim that Richard Allen actually said he got there at noon and left at 1:30 p.m., unlike the original timeline of 1:30 and leaving at 3:30. They also claim Tony falsified statements and lied to the judge in getting a proper search and arrest warrant for Richard Allen. The defense also claims that other authorities involved in this case overlooked possible suspects that could have been responsible for this horrendous crime, most notably this group of Odinists. The defense claims there is substantial evidence to believe that this group of 5 men were not only responsible for the crime, but also have ties with people who are working in the correctional facilities that house Richard Allen. Part 5. Odinist Connections. The defense claims that this group of 5 men were responsible for the terrible crime. They claim this was done as a ritual sacrifice. As far as actual evidence putting this group of 5 men are little to none. There is no claim of DNA, no cell phone pings, no physical evidence that we know of that directly connects any of these individuals. Although I agree that there are many things that don't add up in this case, we all should remember that there is plenty of evidence that the public is not aware of and won't be until the actual trial starts.
Okay, so that's just kind of a recap of everything that's in that 136 page novel, and it's quite the thing here. Let me get caught up in chat, and then we'll start talking about different things that recap a little bit of what we talked about Wednesday. You know, we had Steve on, which always honored to have him on. He worked in forensics, and you know, just like in the Murdoch case, he was able to recreate the part of the crime scene. You know, we did a lot of controlled tests, and we are hoping to do the same thing when this goes to trial in January, if that is the date it's going to stick with. Sweet Dreams, looks like you are now a member for 10 months. Thank you so much for the 10-month support. I'm so happy. Oh, Monica, thank you. And thank you so much for the $4.99 super chat. You are so awesome. Here we go. We got an answer. True Crime Web. That's Steve. And let me tell you guys, Steve has been out to Delphi many times. As a matter of fact, when we were playing the video, the drone footage of the pathway, which was taken last year. Was it last year or this year? No, it was this year. Because he took it in February. He kind of wanted to go out there same time. But yeah, so he's been out there plenty of times. And anyway, he goes on to say the road is paved, bumpy secondary road. A safe speed is around 25 to 30, but I can't remember the posted speed limit. Interesting. Yeah, because there's some turns and stuff, and then if it's bumpy, I could get that. So she could have been going at a slower pace, but still, I mean, you have two witnesses, one that's just driving past a guy, whereas you have another witness that you know is walking up, and not face to face, but 50 feet away. And according to her, when the artist was done, at least where it says in the motion, she says the accuracy was 10 out of 10, according to her. So that is kind of interesting. Okay, I'll turn up my mic just a little bit more. Thank you, Call Me Kitty. That should be a little bit more. Okay, just get caught up in chat, and then we'll get going. And shout out to Drunk Turkey Show. Always an honor to have you in here. Drunk Turkey Show, I know definitely covers the Brian Koberger case and has done an amazing job. So absolutely honored to have other content creators in here. I believe, it's always cool when everybody kind of gets along and shouts out other creators, whereas there's a lot of people out there that try to throw shade at other creators and feel like they should be getting all the views, and there's plenty of views to go around, and so honored to have you guys in here. All right, so let's get started. That's the first thing I want to talk about is we got the F symbol, which we had Steve on Wednesday kind of decipher because he worked in forensics, and just wanted to talk about how this was created. And I even tried to reach out to Barbara McDonald to see if I could get a little bit more clearer answer as to what was used. So the one thing we can say is we know that this F is not a one-to-one match to what was probably on the tree. Because just before we went live on Wednesday, Steve and I started noticing patterns in this F that were reused assets that were just kind of basically flipped around. So as a matter of fact, this little thing right here is the same as this one, but it's just smaller. So they used some preset things. So on the right here, and they could have probably used some kind of Adobe, or there's this one which is Monkey Pix, I think, or Pick Monkey. That's what it is. On the right, which actually has some preset blood spatter that looks pretty close to what was used in this. So I'm sure it was one of those programs that used, and then they did use some of the same patterns and probably flipped them around a little bit. So obviously this is not an exact one-to-one thing, but I'd highly doubt that they would just create some random thing. I'm sure this is trying to get as close as to what they know it looks like without it being the actual real thing. And Steve even mentioned this in my live, and that is, one thing we're missing is you would probably, since the tree is obviously vertical, you would probably see some kind of little bit of rundown with the blood, which you really don't see here. It's almost like this was, at a flat surface and blood driplets are coming down. You don't actually see like a directional really. But at least we have an idea, I'm sure, of what it somewhat looks like. And I would think if it was painted on, as it says in the... Oh, and I got to move over. I just realized you can't see half of that. There we go. But I'm sure if it was actually painted on, like they mentioned in the Frank's Motion, they would have probably built something like this that looked like this for a recreation. So I think, we'll expect to see something along the lines of this, but, slightly different. But I just wanted to address that because, yes, we did see, and even this morning, I noticed some more patterns that were reused assets that are in this F that they produced. So we know it's not a one-to-one F, but I would lean towards it's got to be somewhere in between. So I just wanted to address that because it is something a lot of people are talking about, especially after we did our show on Wednesday. And then so Steve, of course, Wednesday, if you guys were here, he was trying to kind of recreate that. And if this F is anything like what we're going to see, and I'll come back to this stuff here, this is most likely what they call cast off. There's two main ones. There's cast off and there's arterial spurting. And I did bring this up. I'm just going to go through this pretty quickly because I got new stuff to talk about, but I just wanted to go back on some of this stuff. Because we did notice a lot of people were thinking cast off or arterial spurting. And if you don't know what arterial spurting, that is, a major vein getting cut like in the neck. And as you can see, it's quite more dramatic. And the one thing that Steve said that I didn't notice until I rewatched it is he says you'll see these V's, and that's from the blood pressure. So as your heart's pumping and your blood pressure, that's why you see these up and downs, almost like a heartbeat on a monitor. Think of this as a heartbeat on the monitor. So that's what happens with arterial spray, much thicker, and you get the V going if the victim is moving or turning in any direction. Which I didn't catch that when Steve said that the first time, and I was like, oh my gosh, that totally makes sense with the V's here. So most likely we're looking at some kind of cast off, and then he said that could become from the weapon itself, or say the victim and or the perpetrator, there's blood on his hands, and kind of flung their hands or whatever had blood on it, and it landed up on the so it was 4 feet from the base of the tree is where this supposed F design ended up. So very interesting. And of course I have to shout out Steve for learning about this, and that's why I have the Dexter thing on here, because I just think about Dexter when it comes to any kind of blood spatter analysis, and what a great show. Okay, so moving on. Let's see. Start there. Okay. So one of the things that because the defense is saying that it says the message that is supposedly being said is "Hail Odin," and I did get one thing wrong because there are many versions of the rune scripts, and I actually have them right here. Let me zoom in a little bit. So, and I hope I pronounce these right. So there's 4 main ones. There's the Elder, and I'm sorry if I butchered this, the Elder Fourth Arc. There's the Fourth Orc, the Younger Fourth Arc, and then Fourth Orc. And I have them all labeled down here. There's the Fourth Arc. And they're really, it's how it's spelled at the end. It's just changed with an A or a C at the end. So arc, A-R-K, or orc, as in like an orc. And they do change. Like the Hegel symbol is this asterisk here, which when I had pulled up, some of these, and I didn't know about this before. So when I pulled up the Hegel one, I saw the H, which is in this one right here. So I was thinking, well, that doesn't, because they were saying that was on Abby, and I'm like, well, I don't see that on Abby anywhere. But that's because I was looking at a different rune script. There's 4 of them, which was quite interesting. Been learning quite a bit about this Odinist thing, and it is interesting. And they basically kind of have like their alphabet, and of course some of these symbols obviously not only are alphabet but have multiple meanings, and I'm still learning about that. And so here are the 2 different designs, and then I have them flipped upside down. And with Abby, I do agree that does look like a asterisk, which would stand for haggle, which would mean hell, at least with the Younger Fourth Arc, which is here. But let me know in the chat. I want to leave this up for a second, see if you guys see anything. I was looking for Libby to see what design were they recreating on Libby, because clearly if this is some kind of Odinist thing going on, what is the symbol that they are trying to recreate? Let me know in the chat if you guys have seen anything. But here I've got all the designs here, and that's almost, I don't know if it's like a combination of a couple, and the closest one would be this OS, or it stands for A, where you've kind of got this design here, which you can kind of see here, but you still got more going on with that, because you got another line going out and across. So let me see in the chat if you guys see anything. I'm sorry, it's a little bit small, but curious if you guys had noticed something that I may have missed. Good grandma, hey, this is so interesting. Thank you so much. Yeah, I've got a lot more. I kind of delved into some different things, and then we're going to talk about the wood, because it's been bothering the ever-living heck out of me, and I do have my theory on the wood that we'll talk about here in just a second. But let me go ahead and grab these. Eve, thank you so much for the $10 super sticker. You are so awesome. Just reading chat here for a minute. Angie, thank you so much for becoming a member and supporting the channel. Lazarus says, Fourth Arc, Angelo, Saxon runes. Yes, yeah, and there's a little bit more to that. Yeah, just like you said, there's I think there's the Armenian, I think. There's definitely a lot of levels to it, that's for sure. So that's a good question. I wonder, could Richard Allen have known about this Odinism stuff, and maybe he was setting this up
to throw, depending on, somebody else, and make them look the other way. Drunk Turkey Show. I think the long branch on Libby was straight, not at an angle from my interpretation. He drew it out on paper from the description. Interesting. Oh, I see what you're saying. So it came down straight. Yeah, because, something could have, especially a log like that, could have moved. And then, you could have had something more like this, these symbols here, which is like Y, M, let's see. There's another one here, which is X, which says Elks. This is a K. It's so weird because they change, and then it's an R in this form here. Yeah, I mean, if you didn't have the other log going across, you would basically have something like this. Yeah, interesting. Libby equals similar to certain symbols used in traditional witchcraft, as they call it now. Interesting. Okay. Honestly, the Mob Crew channel is doing the best as far as analyzing the Odin thing in a forensic way. Thank you, Emerald City. Yeah, if you're new to the channel, we stick with the facts. I mean, we like to theorize as well, but we stay on the line of what we know to be true and kind of base our theories off that. Okay, so moving on here. I got to take a sip of some. So one thing I'm going to show, I really didn't want to show it, but I'm going to show this. This is a post from one of the guys. Please, like I said, do not put full names or any names. Just if you can, if you have to, put initials, but please, no names. This is taken from, I guess you could say, like the main guy that they're trying to pin this on, which out of all the 5 people, he's the one that has like the solid alibi. Like he was at work. I think they mentioned Chase, so I'm assuming that's a Chase bank. And they're saying, oh well, somebody could have clocked in for him, clocked out. Yes, that's possible. I've had jobs where you could get away with that and be okay. When I worked for like the post office, if they had any whiff of you, like any hint of you doing that, signing in or signing out from somebody, you would be fired. Actually, both people would be fired. You'd have 2 people being fired. Yeah, they don't mess around. So I don't know how it is at Chase Bank, but they don't like that. So anyway, here's the post he has. And really, this is just, so what this is depicting is, this is supposed to be Odin, hung upside down. And I think he's left there for like 9 days. And we have a symbol. Now, I try to enhance this, but it's really hard to see. But on the bottom, there's a circle, and there's the F. Now, you can't see it in this one very well. But the F, and I've seen a better picture, the F is the downward one. Because, there's the upward one and the downward one. The F in here is the downward one, which is the symbol for Odin. So this is something he posted a year later after the double homicide, literally 3 or 4 days and a year after. As you can see, February 17th. And yeah. So I just wanted to show you guys that. Okay, so we went through those 2 here. But then, like I said, the problem with is what the defense is saying is it's saying, with Abby, with the sticks, it's supposed to say hell, and then hell Odin with the F on the tree. But if the F that is anything like this, where it's upward, then that's not the right F, because that's the F for Fanu.
which is wealth, luck, abundance. It's got plenty of meanings. I've seen one that says like cattle as well. I guess that could be something, but so unless this is completely wrong and it's downward, I think that theory doesn't hold a lot of water. So let's see. Moving on. Okay. Then the next, with the wood. So they mentioned that one of the branches, so here's how they worded it. At least one of the tree branches. So one possible tree branch, maybe 2 or 3, supposedly were cleanly cut by some instrument, they say electrical saw, rather than split or broken by hand, indicating this was a preconceived plan. And, so I doubt these guys are wandering around with a handsaw or a battery-operated Ryobi or some tree trimmers. I mean, then again, I wasn't there. I don't know. But, if these were very thick branches, something maybe like this, but maybe a little bit bigger, a K-bar, and there's other knives. This is just one example. Because we know the victims had wounds that were done by some kind of blade. And is it possible he had some kind of K-bar, which does actually have, this kind of teeth ribbed area that is used for cutting. And so if you had a branch like this or even a little bit bigger, you would be able to cut it, and I would think you would have something similar. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that he just had a K-bar and maybe he had a long branch and decided to cut it in half with the K-bar or something similar. But the biggest thing that bugs the ever-living crap out of me with this wood is, what was its purpose? If it was not this setup for this Odinism group, what other thing could it be used for? And it was so interesting, and I'm sure somebody has mentioned this before, but like I said, it's been bugging me. I'm trying to think of theories, and let me know in the chat if you guys have any besides these things trying to make shapes of letters. We talked about how maybe he was just trying to cover up the body, but then I was putting together my members video earlier today, which is us when we were looking for Dior, and me and Steve, we were at the campsite, and anyway, I was doing a video for our fire, and I started thinking, I'm like, I wonder, and let me know what you guys think in chat, just looking at all the different possibilities. Could it be possible that he was just laying wood on top of them and was thinking about trying to burn the evidence? I mean, I don't think that's far-fetched to think. Let me know what you guys think in the chat. Throw some big logs on top of them, and then you would put some smaller brush. Obviously, there's some very dry leaves in that area. And, possibly trying to get rid of the evidence, but maybe didn't have a lighter, or by the time he got these logs on top of them, decided, you know what, all I'm going to do is end up causing a big smoke signal, and they're going to know right where to go, and, I'm going to probably be caught before I get to the car. So let me know your thoughts in the chat. Just curious, because the wood thing definitely bugs me. Michelle says, absolutely. Has been said that, they're looking for odd edge weapons. That's correct, Anna. Yep. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, maybe he was thinking to burn them. And thinking, okay, maybe I could get out of here before it gets out of hand. And maybe he was going to set it up and maybe come back. and then just decided, no, that's just going to be too much. I mean, there's plenty of different things. Good grandma thinks I was thinking burn. Okay, yeah, I was actually looking up. In India, obviously they're a little bit poor country. I did have some images, but I didn't feel comfortable showing, even though they really don't show anything. But obviously they don't have regular crematoriums, and so I was just kind of looking at some of their pyres, and they basically kind of have the same thing where they'll have the only difference is they'll have kind of a, and I mean there's different kinds, but they'll have some kind of small kindling under the body, and then they do actually lay some big logs on top of the bodies, and then of course they light the small kindling under, and then rest is history. So I did notice that some of their the ways that they cremate their folks out there somewhat similar in a way, I guess. Look at that chat here. But their bodies were posed. Would you pose their bodies before burning? Yeah, that's the question. Do we know how well? And I wish Steve was on here. I wish I could ask him. Because bodies go through that rigor mortis, where your bodies will eventually the muscles start tightening up. I can't remember when that takes place. So I wonder if just some of these positions are just kind of, he's dragging them, because remember, this isn't where they were their lives were taken, because the nearby tree with the F is clearly probably where Libby was attacked. Maybe Abby as well, but it says the DNA comes back to as Libby. So I'm assuming the tree, the F tree, which is nearby, is the tree that she was attacked. And so, of course, he has to drag them over, and then their bodies just fell into some weird positions. Oh, and see, Bobby even says that. I think their poses come from dragged. Yeah. I mean, it's just a theory, but and a stage. I mean, I'm on both sides on that. I could definitely see both sides to it for sure. And like the horns, to me, I feel like let's just look at this place here for a second. So here, that's not the best picture. So here's one of them. There's a better one now. This is kind of a better one. So you can kind of see there's a lot of because it's kind of the end part of winter, so we got spring kind of around the corner. So obviously all the leaves are on the ground. A lot of trees got these branches on the ground. Sure, a lot of sticks. And as a matter of fact, I think you see a lot of it in. Hold on, I'm going to play this real quick. My apologies. So just look. Okay, so this is Steve's video, and just look to the left or the right. The left, really.
They also claim that we're.
Let me turn down my volume here. You'll see that there's just a lot of kindle, which is a term for smaller sticks. So is that too hard to believe that these so-called horns were just, sadly, Abby fell back, and I mean, look, I mean, there's tons of kindle everywhere. So could she have fallen in a position that the sticks just ended up there, and it looked more devious than what it was?
Which meant that there was something used, like some kind of electrical saw. Where it gets even more bizarre.
Very Blair Witchy. That's a crazy show.
According to Motion, Abby was also laying on her back.
Okay, keep going. Like I said, there's more stuff that I uncovered.
Abby was
let me close this video here. Okay, let's see, where is it? Okay,
So now about the clothing, which is another weird thing, and curious to know what you guys think. Was the killer in a rush? So we know from what they say, we understand from what they say that sadly, the girls were killed when they were naked. So could it be that maybe he had a certain motive, but then ended up getting rushed because either they were making noise or one tried to run away and things got out of hand? But so say they're both derobed, and now we each have a pile of their clothes nearby. Their clothes are in a pile, and sadly, the worst thing happens, and they are attacked. And now he needs to. Maybe he didn't want either now staging, or maybe he didn't want to look like it was SA. And so what he does is he then starts to dress Abby first for whatever reason, and not realizing it, but being in a rush, he grabs Libby's clothes. And so he starts dressing Abby with Libby's clothes and gets that all done. Now, Abby and Libby, they've got different sizes. Here's just kind of a look here. Zoom in. Libby's a little bit bigger. Abby's a little bit smaller. So I'd assume her clothes would fit on Abby and go on pretty easily. And like I said, he's in a rush, but he puts on the wrong clothes on the wrong girl. Now he's just left with Abby's clothes. And now, since Abby's a little bit smaller than Libby, he's not going to be able to put on her clothes because they are not going to fit properly. Just a theory. Let me know what you guys think in the chat. But it's totally plausible. He's in a rush. There's two piles of clothes, and unfortunately, he dresses one with the opposite, and then of course the other one's going to be aren't going to fit. Rose says, one person did not do this. I have never believed that. I could definitely see a possible second person, but 5 people. And we're going to talk about the 5 people. Well, we're going to talk about one that I haven't seen anybody mention yet. That there's something that I was like, wow, this is crazy. Tara says, Chris, you got it 100%. Just a theory. Doesn't mean I solved it or anything. It just my thoughts. But I think it's totally plausible. That he's in a rush and wanted to clothe him, and unfortunately, the clothes aren't going to fit. Yeah, there was no info on SA. I don't think there was SA. There could have been potential that was going to be the case, and then everything just went to hell in a handbasket. Who knows? But yeah. Yeah, that's. I know I could look that up. Maybe we'll look that up because I know Steve's in here. He could tell us probably 2 seconds. We'll have to look at and see. Is it rigor when they tighten up? The muscles tighten up. Let's look at that real quick. Is it rigor mortis? Is it rigor mortis that your muscles tighten up? Oh, it's only 2 hours. But he wasn't there for that long, though. So I don't think that would be the case. He only had an hour. Let's see, he's seen it 3, we're just going off if it's Richard Allen. He's seen it like 3:49 by Muddy and Bloody. So, let's just say that's 4. He got to the girls at 2. So he had about an hour and a half if it was just RA by himself. So, yeah, approximately 2 hours after that. So, I don't know. Maybe there's different forms. Maybe it's sooner. Who knows? And I know somebody's going to say it's Riger. I don't know if it's rigor, Riger. I've heard both. So my apologies if I did mispronounce that. But okay, Anna says rigor is when muscles tighten, roughly within 12 hours of death. Muscles relax when decomposition. Interesting. Okay, thank you for sharing that. Okay, let me take a sip, and then we're going to get into this thing that I found towards the end of the novel. So the other thing, and I'm not going to go too much into this because this kind of talks about very touchy subjects when it comes to this Odinism, and you kind of got like this neo-white, and I'll just leave it with that. But this actually comes from a message. Now, I can't verify this, but this was a guy on Reddit that says, hey, I worship this. I'm part of an oldness type group. And this is what he said on Reddit. I've been following this case since the start. I cried learning about the girls. I've watched and hoped for justice, same as you. I just wanted to say, if this is all accurate, I want to clarify that this is not representative. Taking the life of an innocent, defenseless children with beautiful lives ahead of them is not compatible with what we stand for. The sociopathic, can't say that word, role players and white nationalists are not us. They are just the aesthetic. They just like the aesthetic of a Viking taking the life his way through a village. An insult to our faith, and most importantly to humanity. From the bottom of my heart, I'm so sorry that our God was used as an excuse to take the life of these two amazing girls. So he's basically saying this doesn't align with what we do. And in the document, it talks about, in the defense's case, they're saying, these guys, like, the motive is that they were mixing with another group, because that's kind of what supposedly these extreme Odinism, I guess, are for. I don't know. But I wanted to bring this up because I thought this was kind of wild. So this is the diversity in Delphi, Indiana. And look at the diversity ratings. You got 81% white. 81% white. You've got, next in line, you've got 8% Hispanic. So it says white Hispanic 8%, other Hispanic 5%. African American, not even 1%. It's 0.74. I put 0.75. So to be mixing with another race, you would have to look really hard to find any other person besides, this is definitely a white community. So, they're trying to say that they're, mixing with other races, and this is their motive for taking the girls' lives. And it just, when you actually look at the statistics, those are some very glaring statistics there. So, yeah. So then it starts to kind of break down this motive, and we're going to break it down some more. Okay, so this is one thing I read that I haven't seen anybody bring up. I'm sure, not saying I'm the first person to bring it up, but I had to bring this up because I was a little bit offended by this, and because, like I said, this thing's a novel, and it's easy to overlook something or kind of proofread and not really understand what was going on in that particular paragraph. So I'm going to read this out to you guys. Excuse me. So this is talking about one of the 5 individuals, and it says at his June 20, 2018 interview, and we're just going to call him L. He is EF for his initials, and we'll leave it at that.
told these, I believe these are detectives, part of law enforcement, Ferenczi and Murphy. So E told Ferenczi and Murphy that he remembered being at home in Rushville 492 days earlier on February 13, 2017. So they're basically saying, hey, we interviewed this guy over a year later, and this guy can remember being at home in Rushville. It is, and then they kind of go on to say, it is quite a remarkable feat for someone with L's mental capacity to remember a specific day 492 days earlier. Some people, like the actress Mary Lou, I forget, I wanted to block it out because I wasn't sure, but they say that she's blessed with something called autobiographical memory, which is kind of like photographic memory, but she can remember, you ask her, what'd you have for breakfast, 8 weeks ago, and she could tell you. And those people it's pretty remarkable. Which allows a person to remember specific days in their lives, because us, a regular person, we dump that information out of our brain every night. I remember my psychiatrist kind of telling me that, all this, it's really useful information or not useful information that we kind of dump every night to kind of just refresh our brain. And so that's why majority of us can't remember what we had 2 days ago, because we just flush it out. But these people contain it. Anyway, I'm going to go on. As previously noted, that by Murphy, in his opinion, L had the mentality of a 7 or 8 year old. Let me reread that. One of these suspects, they are saying, has a mentality of a 7 to an 8 year old. And this is what's even more offensive, is that they say still, rather than admit that he had no idea where he was on February 13th, he specifically remembers not leaving Rushville on February 13th. So I've got some major issues with that. Major issues with this. One, if this guy does have the mental capacity of a 7 or 8 year old, I had a cousin who had a similar disability. Grew up with him. He was a lot of fun. I think he's, what was the age difference between us? I want to say maybe 10 to 15 years older, but he would come over because even though he looked much older, he, of course, had the mentality of a 7 or 8 year old. So we had a lot of fun with him. And he was a big kid, or a big guy now. He was an adult, but acted like a kid. And we had a lot of fun with him because he was big, and he would, we had a swimming pool, and he'd throw us in the pool and stuff because he's strong, and he's a big guy, and we're just, these 7, 8 year old kids playing around. But the other thing is my cousin, his memory as far as, things that happened back in the day, it was amazing. He would always, every time he'd, come over, he'd go, hey, do you remember this time when we did this? Or, hey, do you remember this time when we did this? I mean, he had an amazing memory. And he can go into great detail with, what we did that day, that I'm like, oh my God, I don't remember any of that. But still, I wouldn't be able to have a conversation with him about this case. But yet he could remember stuff like that. So I do take offense to the way they worded this, because it is totally possible for those for individuals to actually have kind of a autobiographical memory. But then the other thing is, are they saying that there's a guy that's involved in this case that has the mentality of a 7 or 8 year old, and that this group is going to allow this, if this guy does have the mentality of a 7 or 8 year old, to be involved in this crime and get away with it for how many years? I mean, I'm sorry, but that doesn't add up. Let me know what you guys think in the chat. But to me, that breaks down. If that's true, if this guy does have the mentality of a 7 or 8 year old, there's nothing wrong with that. But I just can't see a group doing that and having him involved in this, because I know from my cousin, because we were kids and we would do, kid things and get into trouble, and we'd ask him, hey, don't say anything. We'd try to say, hey, don't tell our parents or anything. And he would kind of do it, but he would always, if we got in trouble, they would always go to him, because he could kind of hide it for a second, but he would laugh. He'd always laugh. I mean, he was always delighted at the party, or just, being friends and part of our group. But, yeah, he'd always break down and tell the truth is what I'm trying to get to. He couldn't keep that secret. So, to me, if this is where they're going, this doesn't look good. So, Jocelyn agreed, Mob Crew. He couldn't keep that secret. Yeah. Defense is throwing all the spaghetti at the wall. They are. Now, I do agree. There's still a lot of stuff that does not make sense in this case. And even though, in my opinion, I think R.A. is... I think he's definitely responsible. Could there be one other player involved? I mean, even the prosecution hinted at it, so it would not surprise me if there's. But to have 5 people, just so many things to go wrong. So many people, one person to confess, take a some kind of immunity deal and throw the others. I think this has been over a long time ago. Yeah, false confessions. Yes, they are. Yeah, Stephen, in my opinion, the Stephen Avery case with the Brandon, that one really bothers me. Kids have memories like elephants, yeah. But yeah, my cousin, my goodness, he was, he was amazing with his memory. Let me just see here. Okay. So clear that. So we got a little bit more to go over, and we almost have, so we have over 700 people in here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys could, please hit that like button if you haven't already. And let's see, what else did we have here? So we talked about the diversity, and the one other thing that I did want to touch on, if you guys wanted to listen to him explain, this is Robert Ives, and just kind of talking about the crime scene and what he thought of it. And I think it, now knowing what we know now, adds a little bit more context to what, before I forget, this is kind of also my just 2 cents on this, is before all this came out, we were at the point where Richard Allen had just confessed, supposedly confessed. There's recordings of it, not once, but multiple confessions. And to me, even me and Steve were talking about that this may not even go to trial. This guy's thrown in the towel, and it's just a matter of time that this guy makes some kind of plea deal for his life. And so I think the defense was trying to go for kind of a Hail Mary defense scenario that they could run with. And I mean, on paper, it does have a lot of people talking. And would that give their defendant enough courage to go into the actual trial without pleading out? So I think they had to go big or go home. That talked about there was many signatures, and now I think we can understand the reason why and the reason behind the supposed signatures with the logs and the F tree and they always said odd and bizarre crime scene. But then we have to take into consideration, we do have these graphics here, but what does it really look like? Is it really a one-to-one as far as, we talked about the F, design, but what about these designs? Are they really as close to it, because we're getting this from the defense, so obviously they're going to, they have their, sorry, getting a little feedback there. But yeah, they have their agenda, and so could it look a little bit different from what they're saying? And it's totally possible. But let me close that here. There was one more thing I forgot to play, which was to add on with these Odinists, because one thing I would like to know, and since we still have we still have 700 people in here. If anybody knows an Odinist or somebody Odinist is watching and would like to do an interview, I would love to have them on and get their side of things. But I'm going to play this real quick.
The professor I spoke with tells me that Odinism is a pagan-based religion where the followers worship many gods.
So this is a guy that studies this, this group and stuff, and this is it's just a quick 1 minute interview here.
This is sort of the religion of their blood.
Dr. Jefferson Calico teaches at University of the Cumberlands in Kentucky. He tells me Odinism is a
racially based form of heathenry or Germanic paganism. These are people who see it as like a white man's religion, a racist form of religion.
It's followers of that religion that Richard Allen's attorneys say killed Abby Williams and Libby German in the woods in Delphi, ritualistically sacrificing them, moving and positioning their bodies, and placing sticks on them in the form of pagan symbols.
Ancient Norse religion, there have been some of the ancient sources mention human sacrifice.
Dr. Calico says modern day people wanting to bring back that old way of doing things would be called Reconstructionists.
Every Reconstructionist I've talked to has been pretty explicit in rejecting human sacrifice. That's something just not appropriate for contemporary people.
He did not completely rule out the possibility of Odinists partaking in ritual human sacrifice, because as he put it,
there are crazy people everywhere.
Richard Allen's defense team is pointing their fingers at several people they claim are Odinists who may have actually killed Abby and Libby. We're not naming them because none have been charged with a crime. We reached out to one on Facebook who told us, the only statement I wish to make is to ask for help from a pro bono lawyer who would help me go after the defense for slandering my name and my child's. Dr. Jefferson Calico tells me that modern-day Odinists have been linked to violence, mainly in prisons and against minority groups.
Yes, and I was watching, so of course I was trying to watch a bunch of stuff, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm a person that likes to fall asleep with the TV on, so I'm always watching something, and anyway, yeah, it led into a video, and of course I fell asleep. I'm sure I could probably maybe go back and look at my playlist, maybe find it, but they were talking about this, and yeah, they basically said this is really a lot of this, more extreme is just related to like the jail, because that's where you're gonna have a mixed race, and that's where stuff goes on. And they also had they talked about like, yeah, kids and children, they wouldn't harm kids or children. That's not their thing, even for the even more extreme as well. I mean, from what I was getting from this video, and I wish I would have had more time to see if I could find it, but maybe for the next video. But it was definitely just something like what he's talking about, but more in depth, and it was very interesting, and it just kind of opened my eyes. It's like, looking at it from as a motive point of view, it doesn't make sense. Why are they going after the girls if they weren't dating, well, I don't know exactly, who they were dating, but, we looked at the diversity map, and so it's predominantly white, less than 1% African American. Hispanic is at the next, which is at like, I guess if you combine the two, would be was 5 and 8, so 13%. But mostly it's just white in Delphi. So I don't know. That's just kind of looking at it all different angles there. I want to pull this up because I did see some people trying to decipher some of the things here. Where is it? Where's the good one? There it is. Yeah, because I was looking at this. Let's see, is it as big as I can go here? Let me clear this. But yeah, I was trying to see what symbol as far as Libby. As a matter of fact, if I move this here, I got it. If you look at the bottom, here's without the Libby's body here, but this is kind of the shape that they have. You know, we have Abby with the Hegel, and then as we learned earlier, there's actually 4 different versions of this these runes, and some of these versions they change. Like the Hegel, here it's an H. Here as well, it's got another H, but it's got 2 lines in it. And then if you go to the younger Futhark, hopefully I'm not butchering that, it's actually an asterisk. So some of the symbols definitely changed drastically. But yes, this could be 2 symbols on top of each other, but right now I don't see one exact. It could be there, but and then maybe, who knows, Richard Allen may have known of this group and this was staged. Let me see what's going on in chat. Now, there's just a couple things for what's coming up. So earlier on, we had Jason Watts in the chat, which I'm really excited. I'll have to talk to him either tonight or tomorrow. If you haven't heard the Brandon Lawson case, I've covered that. I've got a video where I break everything down. I've done a bunch of lives, but I do have a video that you can find in my playlist. I think it's like 10, 12 minutes. Breaks down the whole story, and they thought they had found his remains, but from what I'm hearing is that the stuff that came back is the DNA and stuff. They still are looking for Brandon Lawson. I guess they didn't find him. Can be bind rune CNN. Okay. Oh, okay. I see them. And of course, sorry. This is of course I can't see the C. I'm looking for it here. I'm looking for it. Oh, let's see. Let's see. So you put it there. Yeah, the 2 that I'm looking at, except for you're missing the one going across, unless I'm looking at a different one. Interesting. I'll come back to the chat and see. Both are saying CNN. Okay. Oakler Spark Tone. Oakler Spark Tone. Is it in the ones? Of course, I can't really see these ones. Unfortunately, this was not the best. Where'd that go? Need necessity. Of course, I can't see these ones. I will have to go back and look at that, but that's interesting. Use the elder. Of course, the ones that are tough to see. I'll have to go back and look at it because I don't want to spend too much. But anyway, I'll definitely look at that. Thank you guys. But yeah, maybe he knew it. Who knows? My other thought was maybe he was going to just burn the bodies and just decided at the last minute that was going to be a bad idea because that would have cost a lot. 6 and 10th rune. That doesn't help me really. Because I'm not sure which one. Oh, on the Elder? Oh, okay, I see. No, that's not right. Oh, okay, I see. Part of it. Anyway, I don't want to spend any more time on that, but yeah, we'll go back and look at that and maybe make a second video. Thank you, Lazarus. So yeah, coming up, that'd be really cool. Maybe we'll have Jason Watts on maybe next week talking about the Brandon Lawson case. It'd be really interesting. It is a fascinating case if you haven't heard about it. It was a very popular case. We thought it was coming to a closure, but unfortunately his remains that they found were not confirmed. So they're back out there looking. So maybe we can get an update on that case as well. We do also have cases that we're working on. We just got back from the Dior Coons case. And let's see what I want to leave on. Oops. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, we did cover everything. But yeah, so we've got the Dior Coon case, and there's other cases that we worked on. We worked on the Texas case, and we're still waiting on results from that, just to let you guys know. That's a 40-year-old cold case that we went out and worked on earlier this year, and we're still waiting back on a artifact. That's all I can say for now. And it's actually pretty fairly, I don't want to make it too big, but it is interesting that the artifact that we're waiting on, still waiting for DNA test on that. And then we also have a secondary lead as well for that case. So a lot of these cases, even though we gone out and done, there's still movement going on. And then Steve's working on a couple behind the scenes. Evansdale we're working on, and I'm going to try to have Drew. So I'm sure if you've heard the Delphi case, you probably heard the Evansdale case. I'm going to see if we can get Drew back on here, because we do have a plan to help solve that case. We can't really go into details about it, but we wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. So we may have that as an upcoming interview within a month or so as well. So we've got a lot of big stuff coming up. And then, of course, with the Dior Coons case, I still have plenty of footage I'm going through. I just uploaded a members-only video, and I've got more that I'm doing as well, where we went camping. And I'll just show you guys here. So it is... Got to be this one. Oh, no, it's under Trip. Bear with me one more second. So this is what we recently uploaded. Where are you? There it is. This is what we uploaded for the members. So I made a campfire as well as Steve. I gotta turn this music down now. This is where we went out to Idaho looking for the Dior Coons. Searching for his body. Anyway, so yeah, all those donations and stuff go to going out working on cold cases. So we don't just cover true crime. We actually go out and work cases as well. So your donations and stuff go towards that. So please, if you guys can, donations help. And like I said, a lot of these cases that we've gone out and done aren't just something we go and do and it's over. We still have things going on behind the scenes as we speak. So with that said, we are going to have a live show for the members only, members and Patreon. So if you're one of the other, we'll have one of those. And I may start doing a extra show a week now. So I usually do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I may pick up an extra day. I think it'll be a weekend, so it'll probably be like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. So I think we're going to probably start doing that maybe next week. But I just want to shout out to all my wonderful mods: Copper Horse, Karen Lee, D-Dez, Jennifer, Jocelyn, and I know I'm going to forget somebody. They do amazing work. Please show them some love. And thank you guys so much, as always, for the amazing support. Abe, thank you so much for the Canadian $5. Great work, Chris. Thank you so much. We really try to put a lot in these shows. And like I said, we have Steve, who is former law enforcement, and we have him on at least once a week. So we get his insight. He did forensics. To me, he killed it in the Alex Murdaugh case. And we have the case for, if he doesn't plead out, Richard Allen. That goes to trial, and hopefully they're fighting for cameras to be in the courtroom. We're gonna do the same thing. So we'll probably get a better look at what that F tree looks like, and then Steve will probably do some control tests. Usually I'll do a few, but usually he's the one that does the most. But you can expect that to come up at the beginning or whenever the trial starts in January, and then of course with Brian Koberger as well, and so on. So with that said, I think we're going to go ahead and end it here. Interesting show, Chris. Thank you so much, Cunningham. Yes, it was. His blood spatter was amazing. And imagine if we actually get to see the real thing, and know exactly what it looks like, we'll be able to break it down even further. And yeah, that was really cool of him to do his own test, and that's what we did last time with Murdaugh, and we learned quite a bit. So Abe, thank you so much for becoming a member and supporting this channel. It's huge. Thank you so much, Abe. Sorry, reading chat here. True crime, Gloria and Dylan. January 8th. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. I was like, I think it's pretty sure it was at the beginning of January. So, I mean, that's really just around the corner. I mean, we're kind of at the end of October or September, so we got October, November, December. So 3 months, and yeah, we're there. So, and hopefully there's cameras in the courtroom. So with that, and we will be doing a new pet outro. So if you want to start sending in some pictures of your pet, if you're new to the show, we'll build a new pet outro. So you can email me, send me a picture of your pet. Please include the name. If you have multiple pets, try to send me either one or two, or you can send me a group photo. But I try to just because everybody gets a chance to have their pet on the screen. So with that, I'm going to end it. I love you guys. Have a wonderful weekend. Members and Patreons, we will see you Sunday.